Robert Smith, come on in, man.
Hey.
There he
What's
is.
up, everyone?
Now it's a party.
What's up?
What's going on, man? A lot of excitement
I think
with Miami, right?
Yeah. I think we did do a little two back. We did a little bit.
Yeah, we didn't do a whole lot of it, but man, I did
a little bit just to kind of keep them honest.
Yeah.
But I would say,
yeah.
I would look back at Robert and I say, hey, don't expect nothing great, big fella.
Hey, realistic expectations on what this block is going to look like, right? Hey, there are those road graders, and there are those guys that, hey, like the quarterback, I'm just going to get in this guy's way. You handle the rest, partner.
Yeah. Hey, you think a collision with the football was bad? Try being a lead blocker at 220 pounds against a guy that's 260.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, and then the coach will come to you and say, hey, we gonna run this lead play. We just keeping them honest. I say ain't nothing honest about me running up in there. But yeah, we did it a couple of times. We did
we had some third down stuff. Now, David Palmer was our normal third down guy, but we had some packages sometimes where we would be in there on third downs together too.
Hey, Robert, let me just grab it for a second. When Cade York goes to switch ahead to the last week's game, when Cade York goes to kick that field goal, with the whole history of the Browns in Week 1, were you thinking he was going to miss that kick?
Here's the like everything that led up to it too. Right?
Yeah.
Like, all the mistakes. There's like penalties and just everything going on. And of course, Baker, goes down and they're able to get that field goal. I mean, it seemed like absolute. There was no chance he was going to make that, and that's encouraging.
Robert? How about hitting the net? Hitting the net from 58.
Halfway
and just barely cross.
I mean, but that's, I don't want to say you never say that one game is a trend, right? But it's the first opening game or opening weekend win since 2004 or 2005. Yeah. But the way everything was shaping up in that game, I just know Browns fans everywhere were just like, well, of course, this is the way it's supposed to happen. So as much as and you're rightly right, like all those times you say, wait a minute, why does the opposing team never miss that open wide receiver? Like, why do they never miss those kicks? Well, the kick went through, and Cade York, I know there's been a lot of talk and celebration about the young man. I'm glad that he was able to come through in a big moment like that.
And you guys got to know that me and Robert are scarred by kickers.
Oh, yeah.
Was it 98 or when Anderson missed?
Oh.
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Y'all's team was cold back then. Y'all had
they were good. We all thought they were going to the Super Bowl.
Jake Reed, Randy Moss.
I think they were you guys were 15-1, I think, that year in the regular season.
But the Falcons were good. The Falcons were a good team.
They were a good team. But
you had the plans ready.
They had a kicker that makes kicks.
But here's the thing. Gary had been, I think he was 37 for 37. He didn't miss one kick all year long. All year long. Yep. It was a 37-yarder.
Oh,
that's even worse.
That's a chippy for him.
We were up 27-20 at the time, and they have the cannons that go off when the field goals get made, and the damn cannon went off. It looked like he made it.
Premature celebration.
Hey, get him on the Zoom too. Get that kicker on the Zoom.
We get in the locker room. They're like banners, like congratulations, and
goodness,
they cut stuff down.
Hey, I played. How about this? You want to hear something crazy? I played in every NFL stadium except one.
Dang.
That year, the Super Bowl was in Miami. And I never played in Miami.
That's the only one you never played in?
No, I can see the fireworks from my house. So
that's brutal. Brutal.
I'm like, why? It's like I'm getting cursed.
That's hurt. Now,
that's the worst, man. man.
Now you're here with us.
You know what? We talked about the kicking, right? So we talked about the kicker. Go through the emotions of seeing Baker Mayfield put 17 up, like in that fourth quarter, because I was starting to get sick too. I was on the post game, and I'm looking around like, nah, this can't be it.
Can't happen.
This can't happen, bro. We can't do this.
You
man.
actually turned into a white dude.
I did. She just my face.
Man, he's got no color right now.
But I keep saying this. That if you were that confident in Baker making those plays, he would still be a Brown. Why? Like, at some point, Baker gonna be Baker.
Yeah. It was just.
That's why he's not
early.
a Brown. That's why you look for a different quarterback. So, was I nervous? Yeah, because the worst thing. Look, the same thing happened to us in '98. We came out the second half, and we just say, the only thing we can't do is give up a big play. And I'll be damned as soon as that happened, 70 yards down the field.
Got him.
Right? So when it got to that crunch time for the Browns Sunday, I say, well, as long as they don't make give up a big play, we good, because it's taking them forever to move the ball.
Yep.
And lo and behold, 75 yards. I'm going to quit saying that. I'm not saying that no more. As long as. Nope, not saying it.
The hex is off, Leroy.
Honest opinion, though. Honest opinion. What did you think? What did you think of that roughing penalty?
Ooh. It was kind of.
It was hell. I've said this 10 times already. Look at the replay. It was helmet to helmet.
No, it wasn't.
It was. But go look at the replay.
You're right. It was helmet to helmet. It wasn't forcible helmet to helmet. And
Yes,
they've said
that's the difference.
The officials have said this season that there's going to be an emphasis, and they're going to try and eliminate those roughing the passer penalties. And that was it was helmet to helmet in the technical sense. Like, I think their face might have touched.
Who was the referee? Tim Donahue?
I'm glad those refs made it a week.
I thought the roughing the passer earlier in the game on the Browns was a worse call.
That was. I thought so too.
Oh, you're talking about it was in the back of the was Brian?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Brian.
Like, how's he supposed to, in
what's he
midair,
supposed to
not
do?
let all of his body weight land on the quarterback?
Yeah, but honestly, I don't buy it. Man, defensive lineman is agile. These guys jump through hoops. They do all types of matrix stuff. Don't tell me you
Says
can't.
one of the greatest athletes in the
Don't
world.
tell me you can't hit the quarterback. He knows the ball's gone. Okay, he knows the ball's gone. We had a couple of these in the. I called the Commanders and Jaguars the other day. We had a couple of these in the game where quarterback gets rid of the ball. They come in, they hit him after the play. That's fine. They're going to give you a couple steps. You can hit him. You know damn well he doesn't have the ball anymore. Don't put your weight on him. That's really not that hard to do.
Not if you're the Matrix. Hey, Leroy, we got to let you go, man. We will talk to you again next week, bro. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, Leroy.
We'll see you next week.
Thank
Go
you.
Bucks.
I hope you lose your fantasy match.
Go
Whoever
Bucks.
playing.
Hey, Tyvis. Hey, you didn't win in fantasy football. You can't wear that shirt. Robert, don't he looked like Craig Uncle.
Get the camera
You
off
can't
me.
wear that shirt.
Hey,
By the way,
You can't wear that shirt.
Camera off me.
Leroy.
You need to wear a
that's-
white T-shirt.
Yeah.
That's when what's the son in the Cosby Show made that Gordon Goutreau shirt or whatever that was.
Theo Huxtable.
Remember he-
Yeah.
He made that. We got to look that somebody's
what?
got to look that shirt up from that show.
You know what? Y'all don't understand fashion.
Yeah,
That's
well,
what-
that is
that's
a
what
Theo
it-
Huxtable.
No,
Right?
it's
It's a
not.
sweet shirt.
No, it's
It is.
not.
Tag
This
team
is
right now,
Tupac
dog.
by
I
itself.
think first thing I thought when I saw it was the big guy from Cool Runnings. Remember the big guy with the bald head? He was badass, that guy, though.
Hey.
That's not an insult.
By the way, Chad,
Those
I gotta
badass.
be winning by now. That tag team.
What is the ball at now?
Is the
It's
post?
close. It's close.
Is it still going?
It's almost. We'll
I
get the
would-
results at the end
No
of the show.
offense, G, I love you, but I would vote for Tyvis.
Thank you.
I would.
It's all right.
Robert, what did you think of the Buckeyes this week, man?
Oh,
I-
he
I-
done
what
just
did you
right,
take
guys,
away from
I'm
it?
out.
Just reset.
All right, Leroy.
Leroy.
Yeah.
The whole thing. What you guys?
Get it off the
Everybody
Leroy.
stop picking on Tyvis, will you?
But this is, listen, y'all just don't understand fashion. This right here is, I'm dripping right now. I'm dripping.
Pause.
Like, this is,
Robert. Speaking of college football,
it's like the Maryland helmet, man. It's just like every
you got all that stuff going on with. That's so true.
Hey, there are pieces of it I love, man.
The shirt is phenomenal. You ain't even.
I like
you
this
can't
shirt.
even, the tiger on the back, man. Hold on.
Certain sections of that shirt are really.
That's a Las Vegas shirt.
Oh man, that's embarrassing. All I need is a stogie.
Can we get a split screen of Tyvis's shirt and the Maryland Terrapins?
That'd be tough.
No,
Try it by the end of the show.
we're talking about the Buckeyes.
Let's talk a little Buckeyes here. For
Speaking of the Buckeyes, Robert, I got people. So many people got mad at me on Twitter last week because I said that I'm honest. I wasn't going to watch the Buckeye game because they were playing a team that was not worthy of being on the field with them. And I'm not a lover of college football. I watch it because of my job. And so I watch when the Buckeyes play games that matter. I've gotten into it. But where I grew up, nobody cared about college football where I grew up. So when Ohio State plays a team like Toledo or a team where they're a 40-point favorite, to me, it's not worth watching. I'd rather watch another game or, frankly, do something else. And people got so mad at me as if I was saying college football was the worst sport on the planet. I just don't want to watch blowouts. Like in the NFL, we almost never get a blowout. They're very rare, right? There's never a game in the NFL, even the most lopsided spreads, where you say the worst team can't beat the better team. Never. In college, even though we get these upsets once in a while.
Appalachian State,
I know.
Marshall over Notre Dame.
That's Marshall over Notre Dame.
App State.
We had a lot of them this weekend, Bull.
This was the weekend for them.
But they're very Ohio. How many times has Ohio State lost to a team that they were more than a 5-touchdown favorite against? Once out of 100,
the
once out
Buckeyes
of
don't do
200. So I'm saying, like, if you want, I didn't tell others they couldn't watch the game. Do what you want. I'm just saying I'm not watching it. It's not, to me, it's not. This game's not worth watching either. But a lot of people feel differently, obviously. So
I didn't have a chance to watch it because we were running around doing things. There in DC for the game. But if you're a college football fan, and more importantly, if you're the fan of a particular team, you don't care who they're playing. You don't care.
You watch.
What the spread is. You want to watch, and you're going to learn things. You're going to learn things every time you play somebody. And the biggest thing when you go into a game like this, is you want to see efficient play. You want to see mistake-free football, and certainly you didn't have that, really on either side of the ball. But I think again with Jackson Smith and Jigba being out, Julian Fleming being out, it was great to see Marvin Harrison have a good game. I know both of the running backs got a little bit of a chance to eat, but I think bend don't break on the defensive side of the ball. I think Burke had a rough day in particular. Covering on the outside, a couple of penalties. You get a little bit, in any game that you watch like this, and ultimately, you're Ohio State. You should be thinking about how does this team stack up nationally? How is this team going to make it to a Big Ten title? How does this team get itself into the playoffs? And that's what you want to see. But I thought there were some good things as well. Defensively, I think they're playing much better under Jim Knowles, much more disciplined. Hall had another good game. Eichenberg had another good game. So some positives out of it. But you always want to see them just go out and dominate. But the reality is it's just not always going to be that way. The other team, even though they may be Arkansas State with Butch Jones now, but they are capable of making plays, especially when you're not playing your best on every single play, which is impossible, quite frankly.
Robert, I had a fan come up to me, and he said that he was watching the Team Up North games, and he said that he's nervous that they will beat us again this year. Do you feel that way right now?
Well, you know what? I haven't watched their games as closely, but again, I think because in particular, I go back to Jackson Smith and Jigba and Julian Fleming. With those guys being out, I know Egbuka had a big game. Marvin Harrison had the big game. You can see the numbers right there, and I think that running game is getting better, and that line. The most important thing for the line is to have continuity, to have time together, make sure that they're seeing everything the same way, that they operate as a unit, because that's what happened in that game up, in the game against the team up north last year. Now those two edge guys are gone last year, but when I'm thinking about this team, That's what I want to see. I want to see that development of that offensive line. I want to see improvement on that defensive side of the ball. And I think we're going to have an improved defense. Offensive line, still a work in progress. Those guys are getting better, I think, but it just takes time. I'm not worried about it yet because that game's a long way away. And the team that you see, both from Ohio State and the team up north right now, they can look a lot different.
You know, Robert, I'm going to tell you what. I've been watching, unlike Bull, I watch every single snap of college football. I try to watch as much NFL as I can. Like 2 days, I'm locked in the shed. Now, for me, in the shed, I'm just out there moving around, just watching stuff.
What's the go-to meal out in the shed?
Oh, whatever delivers. Grubhub. Sometimes I just go say, listen, I'm gonna do pizza. Just give me whatever you got on the menu. As long as I don't gotta move, I'm good. I'll tell you what, I'm seeing in real time the way the transfer portal is changing the game in real time. There's these games, and I know what Bull's saying, and he's saying that, usually Ohio State going to play 3 MAC schools, a Sun Belt team, and blow them out by 100. But not so much Ohio State. But when you start going Pac-12, you start going down to the Big 12 and other these games where you're starting to see these smaller teams. I'm seeing names transfer from Miami, transfer from Florida State, transfer from Michigan. These guys are getting ball players at these mid-major type schools. And mixed with the fact that they can probably get a couple guys and say, hey, you want to go to Ohio State and sit the bench? You can get some little money. But guess what? We got $3,000 for you over. We got $5,000 for you over here at old dealership or a bakery locally. I think in about 4 years, it might not happen now, but in about 4 years, when I saw Texas A&M, who said they had the best recruit class ever, looked like they wasn't giving Appalachian State nothing. they was taking it. I think this gonna change the game. What are your thoughts on way people is transferring now?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. The transfer portal, name, image, and likeness, basically having the opportunity to buy players. Like we've kind of seen this. We've seen this happen. And our God, we all hated this day, and we probably remember this day, the day of the decision. LeBron James kind of kicked this thing off, right?
We did.
The way the teams have kind of rebuilt quickly, right? And now we've seen it in the NFL. Let's bring in Tom Brady. Let's bring in some defensive stars like Ndamukong Suh. Tampa Bay was able to do
No,
it.
we saw it here. Let's bring in Deshaun Watson.
Well, yeah, but yeah, you're absolutely right. But I'm saying who we saw it from first. You talk about Von Miller. You talk about bringing OBJ from Cleveland. Why is Cleveland always got to be on the bad side of it? But I guess the Deshaun Watson thing's supposed to be on the good side of it, and I know that there's other issues there as well. But yeah, I think it's the same thing in college. You look at Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams going out to USC. You see Jordan Addison transferring from Pitt going out to SC. And then saying he wasn't happy about the deal that he got. I don't know if they had promised him.
I don't know what kind of deal that was.
Hey, come on. Hey, we got this for you. We got that for you. What happened? And you can't really complain about it at that point. But I think it's a completely different game in a very real sense in that you are going to have NIL having a huge impact. You are going to have the transfer portal having a huge impact. I just wonder if they're going to pull the reins in at any point. Or they just say, hey, man, it's a wild, wild west. We're gonna have a couple 20-team conferences now with a 12-team playoff. Who cares? And just kind of let people do what they want to do. Is it better or worse? Maybe it's more exciting. But ultimately, for me, if guys aren't going to school and setting themselves up truly for the rest of their lives, then is it really better? I don't know. So we'll see how that part of it works out.
Mikey McNuggets has got the final question for you, Robert.
I got the last one here, Robert. After what we saw from C.J. Stroud on Saturday, 351 yards, 4 touchdowns, is he your early definitive Week 2 Heisman favorite?
Oh, geez. I'm sorry. I can't say that because I haven't looked at enough of the total numbers. I don't think he's done anything to hurt himself. I know that Bryce Young had 6 touchdowns in the first week. I haven't really been watching the numbers as closely because now I'm working the NFL, so I just kind of watch Ohio State and the biggest stories that I see out there. But Heisman in September, first couple of weeks, doesn't really matter. You know, I think when you get into the meat of the schedule, especially when you talk about the big games towards the end of the year and then the championship games for the conferences, then you really start talking about Heisman. It's a little bit early, and I don't want to say it's a meaningless question, but he certainly hasn't done anything to hurt him.
Got to ask you one more thing before you go about the Browns, Robert. What'd you think of how he used the running game last week, and what would you change going against the Jets?
Man, I wouldn't change a thing. And I'm telling you, the Jets have got some problems on the offensive line. You know, they lose Becton at that tackle spot. Brown gets hurt. They put in a bunch of young cats, and you know, you talk about sacks and pressures and hits. I mean, those guys, they got some real issues. So if you're the Browns, you just lean on that running game. And I was excited to see. I know that he's had the contract issues and talked about wanting the trade and everything like that, but I thought Kareem Hunt, you know, getting the first couple of touchdowns in that one receiving, I thought it was tremendous. And Nick Chubb, man, I just can't get enough of seeing him run. It's just so much fun because he does it so effortlessly too. And you know, I guess a lot of defensive backs, when they're coming up to make that hit, it's that career decision, you know. And do I really need to do this with a guy like Nick Chubb? But you know, just the subtle hands combined with his power and the lateral movement. I mean, he's just so much fun to watch. I know they put the graphic up during the game, you know, among the top 5 all time. I think he might even be number 2 or number 3 all time on yards per carry, you know, for players with more than 900 carries. And of course, we know the great Jim Brown's on that list as well. But just so impressed with the way he runs. And if you've got a tool like that, an offensive line like that, rely on that. And as long as Jacoby Brissett is smart with the football, as he was for the most part in that opening week, you got a recipe for some wins with that defense.
Thanks, good. Robert.
Robert, thanks a bunch. Man, what game do you have this weekend?
We don't have a game this weekend. We have Atlanta at Seattle week 3, and it was fun to watch Geno in that game. Man.
No kidding.
Rebirth, right?
Yeah, looked great. Big win for Seattle, Pete Carroll, and the entire organization. And I know it had to kill Russell Wilson. Wasn't his fault, but man, they just unplugged themselves at the goal line all night long. Robert, have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Appreciate you.
Go Bucks, man.
Thanks, Robert.
Go Bucks.
See you, Robert.
Robert Smith.